Good morning, everyone. Today we are going to discuss the lesson 7, which is the medium and technique in arts. This is the learning outcomes. First, identify and describe the salient aspect of forms, structures, and medium. Create an artwork using appropriate materials for the best possible output, and apply artistic process and skills using a variety of media to communicate meaning and intent in original work of art. First, we are going to discuss is what is medium. Medium is refers to the materials which are used by an artist to create works of art to interpret his feelings or thought. Medium denotes by which an artist communicates his idea. The plural of medium is media. However, each medium has a certain advantages and limitation. Most of the artists says that without medium there is no art. So they say that this medium is the best way to express the feelings and thoughts of artists. Next, in relation to an art, this term has two principles overlapping, even while these slightly confusing meanings. Painting, sculpture, drawing, and printmaking are all media of an art, the sense of type of art. However, the term can also refer to the materials of work is made from. For example, a sculpture in the medium of bronze or marble, a painting in the medium of oil paint on canvas, or watercolor on paper. A drawing in medium of pencil or crayon, a print in the medium of etching or lithography. In modern art, new media in both senses have appeared. First of all, modern artists from Pablo Picasso and Marcel Duchamp on have established that art can be made of absolutely any material, so that kind that artists own bodily exertions and bodily itself. Many modern works are made from a variety of such things, and term mixed media has had to be coined to the take of account. This expansions of media in the sense of materials has given rise to new media in the overarching sense of a type of art. For example, assemblage, installation, and performance are all three-dimensional art forms sufficient distinct from traditional sculptures to become considered new media in themselves. In the case of the two, the medium from which they are usually made in a variety of materials. That is, mixed media performance or uses that artist's own body as the material or medium. Finally, in the third meaning, the term medium also refers to a liquid in which the pigment is suspended to make paint. So the medium of oil paint is licensed oil. Next, types and example in art. Painting. Painting is the practice of applying paint or other media to a surface, usually with a brush. Sculpture, three-dimensional art made by one of the four basic processes, carving, modeling, and casting construction. Next is the drawing. It's essential a technique in which images are depicted on a surface by making lines. True drawings can also contain tonal areas, washes, and other non-linear marks. Print. A print is an impression made by any method involving transfer from one surface to another. And oil paint is a form of slow-drying paint that consists of particles of pigment suspended in drying oil that forms a colored film in exposure to air. Watercolor refers to both the medium and works of art made using the medium of watercolor, a water-soluble paint with transparent properties. Next is the etching. It's a printmaking technique that uses chemical action to produce incised lines in a metal printing plate which then hold the applied ink and form the image. Lithography is a printing process that uses a flat stone or metal plate on which the image areas are worked. Usually greasy substance to the ink will adhere to them, by while the non-image area are made ink repellent. Next is what is technique? Technique is the method produced or way something is done. An example of this is the only using one finger while finger painting. The basic method for making or doing something such artistic work or scientific procedure. Learn the techniques involved in Painting morals. Skill or command in the particular activity. A pianist with superb technique. The manner in which the details of an artistic work of a scientific or mechanical operation are executed or performed. The degree of experts in the following these. A pianist with a good technique but poor expression. In a method or manner of accomplishing something. Next. Why is technique important in art? Technique can be viewed as the foundation for all or any art activity. Knowing your craft and knowing the materials of your chosen medium is paramount in being able to truly rationalize the often impulsive of conveying ideas. Next, example of art technique. Underpainting, building up texture, sgraffito, painting with mediums, blacking in, dry brushing, glazing. First is the underpainting. Underpainting is an essential layer of paint applied to a ground, which serves as a base form subsequent layers of paint. Underpaintings are often monochromatic and help to define color values for later painting. Blacking in. Blacking in is a common and a relatively simple method of underpainting that allows an artistic to quickly sketch out the work by the painting in simple blocks or shapes or color. The later layers of paint added will serve to define the details, colors, and lights and shadows. Next is the building up texture. Have a dry, flat brush that you can use to blend your paint and create smooth transition. I tend to like lots of texture and like to see brush marks in my own work. Almost anything can be used to add texture to your paint. Dry brushing. This is a method of applying color that only partially covers a previously dried layer of paint and very little paint to your brush and apply it very quick directionally strokes. Painting with mediums. Mediums are fluids that can added to paint to modulate in a consistency, drying time, and texture. In the case of acrylics, you get different mediums that makes the paint matter or glass. However, I tend to use the matter medium mainly to seal my paper or both, so paint doesn't soak into it. That's all. That is all about the medium and technique in arts.
Record. Let's record. You can stop recording. Cut mo lang. Picture ko sa sarili.
Ito pa. Post na.
Na-start na.
Wala na.
The next topic will be media used in painting, sculpture, and architecture. Media used in painting, sculpture, and architecture. In painting, media refers to both the type of paint used and the base or ground to which it is applied. A paint's medium refers to what carries a paint's pigments. It is also called a vehicle or a base. A painter can mix a medium with solvents, pigments, and substance in order to make paint and control consistency. Description of media painting. Ikat mo na lang. Mabatian ka mo. Wait lang. Stop ko dere.
Hindi ang share galian yung stop mo. Hindi ko na-record.
Resume. The next topic will be media used in painting, sculpture, and architecture. Media used in painting, sculpture, and architecture. In painting, media refers to both the type of paint used and the base of ground to which it applied. A paint's medium refers to what carries a paint pigments. It is also called a vehicle or a base. A painter can mix a medium with solvents, pigments, and substances in order to make paint and control consistency. Description of media painting, sculptures, and architecture. Mixed media arts refers to a visual art form that combines a variety of media in a single artwork. For example, if you draw with ink, then paint over it with the watercolors, then add some highlights and colored pencil, that mixed media. Sculpture, an artistic form in which hard or plastic materials are worked into three dimensions objects. Materials may be carved, modeled, molded, cast, welded, sewn, assembled, or otherwise shaped or combined. Architecture can mean a general term to describe building and other physical structures, the art of science of designing building and non-building structures, the style of design and method of construction, buildings and other physical structures, a unifying or coherent form or structures. Here are the example of common paint media is the acrylic paint, encaustic, fresco, gouache, magna paint, oil paint, pastel, tempera, and watercolor. Here are the sample photos. Here in the painting with mixed media, then it's a painting which is used by watercolor and oil painting. See, in the painting, the art of creating meaningful effects on a flat surface by the use of pigments. In oil painting, pigments are mixed in oil. The most familiar type of painting is done with oil on canvas. The surface to be suitable must receive oil paint freely and yet not absorb it, can withstand temperature changes and not crack the pigment on it. And pigments can come from many sources: minerals, vegetables, matter, coal tars, and other chemical combinations. The two methods in oil painting is the direct method and the indirect method. Direct method, which is paints are opaque and are applied to the surface just as they are to look in the finished product. An indirect method, which is the paint is applied in many thick layers or transparent color. So here are the oil color paint, which is the best method for convincing representation, where exact reproduction of a color tone is necessary. Then the tempera, which is mixture of ground pigments and an albuminous or colloidal vehicle, either egg, gum, or glue used by Egyptian, medieval, and Renaissance painters. A special characteristic is the emulsion, which is watery, milk-like texture of oily and watery consistency. The advantage of tempera, which is rapid drying, great luminosity of the stone, and colors are clear and beautiful. Here is the principal dimensions, which is the unvarnished or gouache-like tempera, which is tempera as anger painting for oil. So here are the examples of tempera paintings. Then the next is watercolor. Watercolor, its pigments are mixed with water and applied to fine white paper, require a high degree of technical dexterity, and the paper is the most commonly used for ground. The opaque watercolor is also called gouache. Then the pastel which also included in the sample of paint, which is the most recent medium, possesses only surface of light, gives no glaze effect, and most closely resembles dry pigment. The pigment is bound so as to form a crayon, which is applied directly to the surface, usually paper. As support for pastel painting, paper, pasteboard, or canvas is used. Then, as far as the technique is concerned, the painter is free to handle the materials to suit himself. It is a very flexible medium. Varied effects may be produced. Not a very popular medium because no one has yet discovered the way to preserve its original freshness. The chalk tends to rub off and the picture loses its brilliance. Here is the pastel crayon. These are the examples. The next is fresco. The most popular type of painting. Colors are mixed with water, applied to fresh plaster which absorbs the color. Since the pigment has been incorporated with the plaster, it lasts until the wall is destroyed. Flourished during the 15th and 16th century, the fresco means fresh. The process begins with preliminary sketch, later enlarged to full-size cartons, which are transferred to rough plaster. The coloring must be ready as soon as the plaster is put on the wall. It is prepared by mixing a pigment with water or with water and lime. When this is applied to the wet plaster, the lime binds the pigment to the plaster and makes the painting part of the wall. So the process begins with preliminary sketches, later enlarged to full-size cartons, which are transferred to rough plaster. So the coloring must be ready as soon as the plaster is put on the wall. It is prepared by mixing a pigment with water or with water and lime. When this is applied to the wet plaster, the lime binds the pigment to the plaster and make the painting part of the wall. So the disadvantage of this is almost impossible to move a fresco. Painting is subject to disasters that may happen to the wall of which it has become part. So here is the photos or the pictures of the fresco art sculpture. Here, acrylic is the newest medium and one that is used widely by painters today. Synthetic paints using acrylic emulsions as binder. Combine transparency and quick drying. Qualities of watercolor are as flexible as oil. They are completely insoluble when dry and can be used almost on any surface. They do not tend to crack and turn yellow with age. Here is the photo example of architecture and sculpture. The two sculpture photos, and this is
Here is the continuation of our topic, which is the media paint, sculpture, and architectures. So we talk about sculptures. What is sculpture? Sculptures is the art of making two or three-dimensional representative or abstract forms by the use of different mediums. In choosing a subject for sculpture, the most important thing to consider is the material. Substances available for sculpture are limitless. Some of the earlier sculptures are made from bone or wood. Different materials require different methods of handling. So here is the type of mediums in making sculptures. First is soft medium, which is it has freedom, lend itself to a moderate technique that uses squeezing and shaping and continuously adding to it as the work goes on. It modelings allows for the expansion of gesture, and clay is the good example of soft medium. While hard medium requires the process of cutting and taking away from the block, carving is confined to the limits of wood or stone. Stone and woods is a good example of a hard medium. So what is stone and bronze? It is the media which is the most commonly used for sculpture are stone and metal. Stone is durable, resistant to elements, fire, and other hazards. On the other hand, it is heavy and breaks easily. Marble is the most beautiful of stones, plenty in Greece and Italy and commonly used. High gloss and polish, more or less permanent. Pieta by Michelangelo in the Vatican City and the head of Ptolemy I are made of marbles. Next is wood. The advantage of wood is it is cheap, readily available, and easy to cut. Polishes well and has smooth, shiny surface and beautiful color. Relatively light and can be made easily into a variety of shapes. The grain of wood that could be seen adds to the beauty. Carved pulpit of the San Austin Church in Intramuros is an example of Philippine carving. The disadvantage of woods is it is limited in size and burn easily. It discolors and decays easily in Philippine climate because Philippines is a tropical country. Next is ivory. Ivory statues survive through long periods of time due to intrinsic value of the material. Ivory lends itself to technical mastery, and it is popular to ordinary craftspeople. Many statues of saints have heads and arms made of ivory. But ivory lacks the vigor of wooden statues. Like wood, it also cracks. Seldom it is used today. Terracotta. Terracotta means cooked earth. It is made when moist clay is molded and then subjected to heat. Moderately coarse clay product fired comparatively low temperature. It is usually painted and coated in heavy glaze, breaks and chips easily, but it is not strong and it cannot stand great strain or weight. The other materials in sculptures are aluminum, chromium, steel, plastic, and chemically treated clay and stone for casting in liquid form. Plastic is less expensive for use as a casting material than metals and less fragile in many ways. It has beauty and lightness makes it preferable to other materials. So next is architecture. So what is architecture? Architecture is the art of designing and constructing building. Functional definition is to fulfill a need that leads to its creation. Materials used and the methods of assembling them are among the factors contributing to architectural style. The examples are its materials are stone, wood, brick, concrete, and glass. Wood. Wood is common building material and its advantages is it is abundance, relative durability, and high tensile and compression strength. Its disadvantages are it is easily destroyed by moisture, insects, and fire. Plywood, it improved the structural possibilities of wood and it is stronger than any known material. Stone. Stone, it is material used when permanence is desired. Concrete. Concrete is made of sand and gravel mixed with cement. It is high compressive strength, doesn't crumble or break down when subjected to heavy weight. It does not corrode, and it is fire resistant. It is stronger or ferroconcrete or reinforced concrete. Next is steel. Tough alloy of iron in variable amounts, malleable under proper conditions, and greatly hardened by sudden cooling. It, it, it tensile strength. It is made possible the building of the high-rise structures which are very popular these days. Types of constructions is post and lintel. It is consists of two vertical posts for support, which is the post, and horizontal one, which is the lintel. It is generally used for wooden buildings. This is the example of construction. Next is arc. Arc is dominant in Roman architecture. Architectural forms built from pieces of wood called voussoirs with joints between them are arranged in semicircle. All materials are in compression, typical for stone construction, and can stand great pressure. Dome is an extension of an arc. Roof resembling an inverted cup or hemisphere formed by round arches, arcs, or vaults rising from a round or many-sided base. This is the example of an arc. Next is cantilever. Any structural part projecting horizontally and anchored at one end only needs a beam with tensile strength and does not crack or break easily. Largely utilized in buildings with steel as midroom. Wood is also used but is limited since it has a tendency to warp, sag, or rot. It is used in construction of skyscrapers, which depends for support upon a steel skeleton. This is the example of cantilever, which they made high buildings. So this is the end of our topic. Thank you and God bless.
Our topic for today is all about hard materials. First, we identify what is the meaning of hard materials. The most recognizable and most popular form of sculpture has been created with hard materials. This is also the oldest form of sculpture. Statues, kinetic sculpture, and environmental sculpture are all examples of sculptures that use hard materials as a medium. Some materials used are concrete, bronze, clay, stone, marble, granite, limestone, alabaster, sandstone, schist, soapstone, wood, glass, stainless, steel, aluminum, antimony, chrome, copper, gold, iron, lead, nichrome, nickel, palladium, platinum, silver, tin, titanium, zinc, diamond, jade, ivory, and ceramics. Some of the alternative medium used by contemporary artists are ice, sand, plastic, and found object. This culture may often be represent, representational or Michelangelo's David or may be created in abstract form as well. Henry Moore's interlocking. These are the example of hard materials. Steel, wood, stone, brick, glass, bone, teeth, diamond. Those materials which cannot be easily compressed, cut, bend, or scratched are called hard materials. Hardness is a measure of how easily a material can be scratched, or indented. Hard materials are often or also very brittle. This means they have a low resistance to impact. Well-known hard materials include diamond and hardened high-carbon steel, same units as for tensile strength. Some of example of hard materials are diamond, boron, carbide, quartz, tempered steel, ice, granite, concrete, ability of materials to resist wear, tear, scratching, abrasion, cutting is called hardness. We all know harder materials are more difficult to cut and shape than after ones. And that's all. Thank you.
here to discuss to you all about hard materials and its examples. The most recognizable and most popular form of sculpture has been created with hard materials. This is also the oldest form of sculptures. Those materials which cannot be easily compressed, cut, bent, or scratched are called hard materials. Hardness is a measure of how easily a material can be scratched or indented. Hard materials are often also very brittle. This means they have a low resistance to impact. Well-known hard materials include diamond and hardened high-carbon steels, same units as for tensile strength. Some examples of hard materials are Thank you for watching. Keep safe and God bless us all.
This is the continuation of our topic, and today we're going to discuss about sound and light. So what is sound? Some experimental artists create sound sculptures, meaning the three-dimensional structures also produce sounds. This art may also be known as a sound installation because the sculptures are regularly installed in art galleries. Some famous artists who are known for their sound sculptures are Alexander Calder, Hugh Davis, and Nigel Hellier. Sound sculptures differ from musical instruments in what they are not manipulated by a human player to make sound. They simply make a sound on their own due to their design. This medium that makes this type of sculpture unique is the element of sound. So what is sound sculpture? Sound sculpture is an intermedia and time-based art form in which sculpture or any kind of art object produces sound or the reverse. Most often sound sculptures artists were primarily either visual artists or composers, not having started out directly making sound sculptures. So this is the example of the sound sculpture by Alexander Calder. Well, Alexander Calder is known for inventing wire sculptures and the mobile, a type of kinetic art which relied on careful weighting to achieve balance and suspension in the air. Initially, Calder used motors to make his works move, but soon abandoned this method and began using air current alone. So as you can see in this picture, Calder used air current alone. There is a balance in in this in his sound sculpture. Next is David Hughes. David Hughes invented musical instruments that he constructed from household items. Among them was the sausage, a generic name. Am I right? Sausage. Shuzig, a generic name he used for any instrument housed inside an unusual container. The name is derived from the first of such instruments, which was housed inside the final volume of an encyclopedia.
From the 1960s onwards, Davis made very significant contributions to the documentation of electronic music history, and in 1968 published a catalogue in which he listed, ostensibly, all the works of electronic music ever composed worldwide. It has been argued that through his research and documentation, Davis characterized electronic music for the first time as a truly international, interdisciplinary field. Davis was the founder and first director of the Electronic Music Studios at Goldsmiths, University of London from 1968 to 1986, and was subsequently a researcher there until 1991. Davis had been part-time researcher and lecturer in sonic art at the Centre for Electronic Arts, Middlesex University, London from 1999 until the end of his life. As you can see in this picture, you can see how David Huge invented his instruments and how he invented the electronic music, which became a worldwide phenomena before. Next is Dr. Nigel Hellier. He is an internationally prominent sculptor and sound artist whose interdisciplinary practice combines art and science to embrace our social, cultural, and physical environments. He brings these concerns together in creative projects that prompt the community to engage with their cultural histories, identity, and sense of place, inviting us to examine the abstract condition of our world and our complex relationship to it. During the talk, Helier and Andrew Griff Patterson will be discussing a series of Helier's recent sound works, some that examines the natural world via sonification of biodata, others that address cultural and historical identities via polyvocal soundscapes and embedded within large public sculptures, and yet again others that functions within microbiological scales. So as you can see here in the picture, you can see how Dr. Nigel made his music sculpture, which it receives sound waves or worldview significations of biodata, which addresses our cultural and historical identities by the soundscapes embedded with large public sculptures. Yeah, here in the picture you can see the Dr. Nigel's inventions or how he invented his own sound sculpture. So next is what is light? Well, light are a unique type of medium because they use various form of light or lighting to create an aesthetic effect. The medium of light may use fractal manipulations or gaseous form of light or electricity to produce an image. Some light sculptures produce light due to the hard materials in a sculpture, while others are nothing but light. The most famous light sculptors are Olafur Eliasson and Dan Savin, the creator of light sculptures made by via fluorescent lights. In architecture, an architect uses building materials as its media in the construction of buildings and other physical structures. Many naturally occurring substances, such as clay, rock, sand, and wood, even twigs and leaves, have been used to construct buildings. Apart from naturally occurring materials, many man-made products are in use, some more and some less synthetic. A man-made material is a material that is manufactured through human effort, often using natural raw materials. A list of these man-made materials would be glass, steel, and concrete cement. They provide the makeup of habitats and structures, including homes. So in light, it is the light of, for example, bulb, sun, which an object produces lights. So what is light sculpture? Light sculpture is a form of sculpture that utilizes lights, bulbs, light bulbs, the sun, and laser beams as the primary medium of expression. So what is light art? Light art is an applied arts form in which light is the main medium of expression. It is an art form in which either a sculpture is used to create a sculpture through the manipulation of light, colors, and shadows. These can be temporary or permanent and can exist in two distinctive spaces, indoor galleries such as museum exhibits or outdoors at events like festivals. Light can be interaction of light within an architectural space. Nowadays, we can see street lights that is considered as light art, such as Christmas lights, because it produces lights, and it is the main medium of the expression of an art or the sculpture. So here are the examples of light sculptures. This is considered as as street light sculptures. As you can see how beautiful the light sculpture is. So that is the end of our topic. Thank you and God bless.
Good morning. My part is to share to you about light of art. Light sculpture are a unique type of medium because they use a various form of light or lightning to create a aesthetic effect. The medium of light may use fractal manipulation or gaseous forms of light. It's called electricity. To produce an image, some light sculptures produce light due to the hard materials in a sculpture, while other are nothing but light. They use light in arts. The most famous light sculpture or are Olafur Eliasson and Dan Flavin. That too is the creator of light sculpture made in via fluorescent light. Because of art, we can use everything in our surroundings just to show the creativity with the passion of making ultimate works through art. Light is just a reflection from the sun or from artificial source of light. But light could also use in making art, which is called light sculpture. That's what our topic is. Through through fractal manipulation of light, it can provide an image. Artists use other materials aside from using direct light or from the or are just using the reflection of light alone to create realistic image. While in architecture, an architect uses building materials as its media in the construction of buildings and other physical structure. While in architecture, the architect used wood, stone, or clay just to create a miniature or example of the build house. As an architecture, you need to have more ideas like home design and either interior or external design, which have great impact to the project created by the person. Man-made materials is made through human effort. They convert the raw materials into finished goods and sell it to the market. Some man-made materials are made manually and others are machinery just to produce a number of product in short period of time to ensure the product produced has good quality. So that is light and architecture. So I hope you have learning that you get from me, And thank you for listening. Thank you.
Turn it around, and all that I can see, just another lemon